We're doing awesome, Albert. We're 2-2. We found a way to beat the Rams. Now the Panther roll in here this weekend. What was your takeaway from what you saw? Because I thought it was Caleb Williams' best game of the 4 he's played as a pro.
Yeah, I think my main takeaway is how the team is good enough to support him as he learns to play in the league, as he learns what he can get away with, what he can't get away with. And in a way, it was sort of like the opener, like where, he didn't play very well in the opener. Like, I played a lot better on Sunday against the Rams, but he didn't play very well in the opener. But it didn't matter because they scored on a block punt, they scored on a pick six, and they won the game. And, this is another one where they're not asking the world of him, just go play quarterback. And I think it's the advantage of drafting one in the third year of your building process instead of, having one on the ground floor the way that I guess Jaden Daniels would be a bad example right now, but the way Jaden Daniels or Drake May were in Washington and New England, where those guys are going into the first year of a rebuild. That's not what Caleb Williams is doing, So I think there's like a real intrinsic advantage to having a team that can win different ways. It doesn't need the quarterback to put the team on his shoulders, and the Bears don't right now. And so he can kind of get better at his pace and keep improving. And, they're not going to have him out there in a bunch of third and long down 21 points because they're good enough to prevent those sorts of situations. I'd be encouraged by what I saw for sure on Sunday against a pretty good Rams team.
Albert, when you're right, you're right. Earlier this summer, we asked you about the hierarchy of the NFC North, and you stunned all of us by saying, hey, I know that you're into the Bears, and Detroit is the class of the division, and Green Bay's Green Bay, but watch out for Minnesota. And you said, and look at where they are right now. How much does the ascension of Minnesota surprise you?
And Hoodie and I gave you your flowers yesterday. We're like, man, Albert Breer, man, he told us.
Said it in August.
Yeah, I just think, I just really like the head coach, the staff that he has, the culture that they built, the front office, the general manager, they've done a good job. I just think there's so many logical things that have happened there. And I think there are a handful of coaches. I'm not saying they can coach anybody into being an all-pro quarterback, but I think there are a few coaches that really know what they're doing with quarterbacks. And it's not to say you could give them, to borrow an example from last night's Snoop Huntley or Mason Rudolph, turn them into all pros, right? But if you give them a talented kid who's the right kind of kid, they're going to put that player in the best position to succeed. And I think that's exactly what's happened in Minnesota is, Sam Darnold had a chance to take a breather after, a chaotic first 3 years in New York. And after getting benched in Carolina, he came back late in that year in Carolina, played a little bit, went to San Francisco, played for Kyle Shanahan for a year, basically an apprenticeship, flashed when he got a chance. And now here we are. And I think you have to give him so much credit because you look at it, right? And I look at the guys that they lost this offseason, and you could argue they lost the two most important players in that organization for the last 10 years, right? And Kirk Cousins and Danielle Hunter. All due respect to Justin Jefferson, he's only been there for 4, right? So over the last 10 years, you could argue that those two guys are really kind of the bedrock players of that organization that you've been building around. You pull those pieces out, and I think you could argue they're better off now than where they were because they've got Sam Darnold and J.J. McCarthy at quarterback, and they've got Jonathan Grenard and Dallas Turner and Andrew Van Ginkel as edge rushers. And not only are they better off, they're younger. So I'm really, really impressed with the way that Minnesota has done this, the way that they flipped their roster over. I think they're going to be a problem in the NFC North for a long time to come. And I think to me, Sam Darnold, and I love what Sam has done, and he deserves a ton of credit. I think Sam Darnold is more a symptom of what's being built there than any sort of revelation. I think there's a lot of guys that you can look at that have been maximized coming through that place.
So we're looking at our Bears O-line, Tevin Jenkins with a rib injury. They're saying he's day-to-day. That got to be painful to try and block a 320-pound lineman when you have a rib injury. Is there anything out there they could do to upgrade their O-line, A, and B, with the Chiefs probably out of the Rashee Rice usage for the rest of the year, would they come calling about Keenan Allen, Velus Jones, Khalil Herbert at running back?
I think it's possible. Yeah. I mean, on the second question, I think the Chiefs have shown a willingness to do these sorts of things. They acquired a distressed asset 2 years ago in Kadarius Toney. Now that didn't work out for them long term, but the guy, a valuable piece for them in the Super Bowl, helped them win a Super Bowl championship. And I don't think the Chiefs are afraid to do those sorts of things. They've been aggressive, in the past. And so if you've got somebody who you think is a distressed asset or you have a surplus at a position, I think this Chiefs certainly could look at that. And they're obviously banged up with Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, and Isaiah.
Try to clear up the line from Albert Breer just a moment as we try to reestablish with Albert. It makes no sense, Cap, to weaken what you're trying to build to help a juggernaut that is the Kansas City Chiefs.
Depends what you're getting back, because I don't think they're re-signing Keenan Allen, and I don't think they're winning the Super Bowl. Now, if you tell me they're offering a 6th-round pick, no, I'm not doing that. But if they said, hey, man, you give us Khalil Herbert and Keenan Allen, here's a 2 tonight.
It's amazing to me that you're trying to help a team that
I'm not trying to help them. I'm trying to help my future.
Your future's now. Aren't you trying to get into the playoffs? You can't reach your 11 or 12 wins. You can't reach your 4,000 yards and your 30 touchdowns. You can't reach any of that if you're weakening the team. Why would you weaken the roster just because you're concerned about tomorrow? Tomorrow's today. Why are we here every day talking about the Bears? It's about today. It's not about tomorrow.
Yeah, a 2nd-round pick, I don't think they'd give it up. But if they
saying, but what about the Bears as is? Are you trying to build towards something?
I am, but I'm also trying to look at am I a better team today going forward if they gave me a 2nd-round pick? Oh, there you are. Hoodie and I are having this debate. I said that if the Chiefs called and said, give me Keenan Allen and Khalil Herbert, and I'll give you next year's 2, I'd do that in a second. Would you?
Keenan Allen, Khalil Herbert for next year's 2?
Yes.
Well, I don't think the Chiefs would do that. Maybe they
agree.
Would. But I mean, that's probably so. The thing about it is you got to remember that you're probably talking about the 61st, 62nd, 63rd, 64th pick, right?
Yep.
So, I don't think the Chiefs would do that. I'd have to look up what they gave up for Tony again, too.
I'm gonna look that up for you right now.
I don't have it in front of me. I can't remember what they gave up for Tony, but I think they're going to be looking at these things definitely. I
think it's all a non-starter, because if you're trying to build toward getting to the postseason, Albert, then why are you weakening your team? I mean, when Keenan Allen's available, when he's healthy, he's your best 3rd-down wide receiver. Why give him to the Chiefs if you as an organization are trying to get to the postseason?
Well, I mean, if you still feel like you got to build up some draft capital, then I think
you 3 and a 6, Albert, a 3 and a 6.
So that's why I'm saying I think a 2 would be unlikely. But I could see and look, the other thing is Kadarius Toney, I believe was making $1 million.
Yep.
Right. So you're talking about taking on a lot more money if you're going in and acquiring Keenan Allen.
Yep.
So that's another piece of it that's going to weaken the value of the player in the trade, So I don't know. I mean, I understand what you're saying, Hoodie. I also don't think they're winning a Super Bowl this year.
They're not.
And if your determination is, Keenan Allen's about to fall off a cliff, and I don't know if that is or not, and he's not going to be the same player in 25 or 26, then I could see wrapping your head around the logic. Okay, we're okay without him. We got a surplus there. Let's go get a draft pick. We're trading him out of conference. So this isn't somebody who's going to hurt us directly in all likelihood. We're comfortable doing that.
So now it's the Bears taking on the Carolina Panthers, and we can always go back to Tom Brady's original thought this summer about how the National Football League rushes young quarterbacks out there and they're unprepared. Well, in this scenario with Andy Dalton as the quarterback, we've been there and done that. We know what the Red Rifle can do. Just wondering what's happening with Carolina right now. Do you feel if Dalton's healthy, they'll move forward with him and have the young quarterback just sit on the sidelines and watch?
Hoodie, I'm actually I'm really not sure I don't know. I'm really not sure that this has anything to do with readiness. Bryce Young played at Alabama. Bryce Young played for Bill O'Brien for 2 years. He played for Steve Sarkisian the year before that. Now, he wasn't playing, but he was being coached by Steve Sarkisian the year before that. He started a lot of games. He played in a lot of big games. He played against SEC defenses. Now, was he 55 starts? Like Jaden Daniels was 55 starts? No. But, I think this is a kid who's sort of groomed for it. The same way Caleb was. Went to a big-time high school in modern day in California. Went to a big-time college program. Played big-time ball. Played a lot. Played in pro system. I'm afraid that this is just the guy's not good enough. You know what I mean? And I hate to hang that on a kid at this point, but I think physically, if you watch, he looks small out there. Does he have the athleticism to overcome it? I'm not sure. History tells us, and you guys can look this up. I think there's only really one 6'1" or under quarterback that didn't run at least 4.5 that's really made it as a long-term starting quarterback. That's Drew Brees. Try to find another one. It's really freaking hard. You know what I mean? Over the last 20 or 30 years, you either have to be tall enough to see over the line or you have to be fast enough to escape. And Bryce Young's a really good athlete. I don't know that he's a great athlete, so within an NFL context. So I don't know, man. I struggle with this one a little bit because I think there's so many cases of guys not being ready and getting thrown to the wolves. I'm just not sure that's what this is. I wonder, if the loss of confidence for Bryce Young is more about he physically can't do it rather than he's just seeing ghosts out there and he's not ready. I think he's as ready as any kid could be coming out after 3 years in college.
All right, Bears and Panthers. So got to find a way to get to 1-0 this week, Albert. That's the key, buddy.
Yeah. And I look the Panthers have been really competitive the last couple of weeks with Andy Dalton as quarterback. Straight as crazy as that sounds, right? They did not relent against the Bengals. Now they wind up losing the game, but that was not for lack of effort. And they've looked a little bit better. So, I still think it's probably the worst roster in the league, but the Bears can't fall asleep either, so coming off a big win against a Rams team, I think, that was one of those, this is a playoff team we're playing. Can we stamp ourselves going against the Rams, who are coming off a huge win over the 49ers? This would be axe.
Have a great